Today's topics include diabetes, robot metabolism, Europe's ideas for better internet search engines, left-wing political views in psychology, improvements to the Mediterranean diet, two-factor digital security, and the fastest recorded glacier collapse in Antarctica. Stay tuned.
Let's begin with diabetes treatment and the role of physical activity. For years, the standard has been a dual recommendation, metformin plus regular exercise. Intuition suggests that 1 + 1 = 2, that combining the two interventions should work better than either alone. A team led by Professor Stephen Molen of Rutgers University put that intuition to the test in a study involving 72 adults with metabolic syndrome. Participants were divided into 4 groups: high-intensity exercisers with placebo, high-intensity exercisers with metformin, lower-intensity exercisers with placebo, and lower-intensity exercisers with metformin. Over 16 weeks, the researchers assessed changes in insulin-stimulated vascular function, crucial for clearing glucose from the blood and transporting it into tissues. Exercise alone improved vascular sensitivity and increased blood flow to muscles. However, in the groups taking metformin, the benefits of exercise were clearly smaller. The drug limited gains in aerobic capacity and muted positive effects on inflammatory markers as well as fasting glucose. As Molen sums it up, physical activity improved vascular function regardless of intensity, but metformin reduced some of those benefits. That's an important signal for clinicians and patients. People exercising while on metformin may not reap the full, expected training effects. The researchers do not recommend stopping either the drug or exercise. Instead, they point to the need to refine how the two strategies are combined and to examine how other medications affect training adaptations. As for mechanism, one hypothesis is metformin's impact on mitochondria, which might limit the body's ability to fully cash in on exercise gains.
Now to robots that not only think, but also, metabolize matter. A team from Columbia University's Creative Machines Lab, led by Philippe Martin-Whiter, presented in Science Advances the concept of robot metabolism, machines capable of drawing resources from their environment to grow, repair, and adopt. The researchers built a modular system called TrustLink, inspired by the Geomag toy, where magnetic modules expand, contract, and autonomously attach into increasingly complex structures. They demonstrated autonomous construction of 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional forms. In one video, a tetrahedron increased its locomotion speed by more than 66.5% after adding an extra module. This is only a starting point, but it marks a direction in which robots maintain functionality, reconfigure themselves, and ultimately replicate elements by using environmental resources or parts from other robots. As co-author Hod Lipson emphasizes, it sounds like science fiction, yet with robots taking on growing roles in transport, industry, and space exploration, fuller physical autonomy becomes necessary. We won't always be able to rely on people for repairs and maintenance.
From the lab, let's move to Europe's internet infrastructure. The Open Web Search.eu consortium, with CERN among its members, the birthplace of the World Wide Web, has launched a pilot of the European Open Web Index, an open web index offered to researchers, companies, and independent creators. The aim is to lay the groundwork for fairer, more transparent search engines, where commercial interests don't dictate rankings. OWY is an interdisciplinary project with privacy, transparency, and legal compliance built in from the start. CERN is responsible for a critical part of the infrastructure. About 9 million addresses are indexed every hour, nearly 3 terabytes of data per day. And by year's end, the goal is to cover 30 to 50% of the public web. Access is available upon registration. Remember, though, this is an index, not a search engine. Transparent search engines can be built on top of it.
When it comes to whether political views are linked to pro-social behavior, the answer remains elusive. Bernhard Schubach, University of Bonn and University of Hagen, and Isabel Thielmann, Max Planck Institute in Freiburg, conducted one of the most extensive studies on the topic. In a demographically heterogeneous sample of 1,836 people, they ran 5 measures of political orientation, used 6 economic games to test pro-social behavior, and compared 10 scales spanning the pro-social-antisocial continuum. The results resist categorical claims. The data suggests that people with left-leaning views may be slightly more pro-social, but the effect is fragile and heavily method-dependent. The authors also note limitations. The study was conducted in Germany, and patterns differ across countries. Participants had no information about partners in the games, which could have dampened pro-sociality among right-leaning individuals towards their own group. And finally, researchers increasingly distinguish interpersonal prosociality, directly helping others, captured in games, from ideological prosociality, views on equality and social policies, with the latter appearing more tightly linked to political orientation. In short, a relationship exists, but it depends on what and how we measure.
Sticking with health, let's return to diet. A calorie-reduced version of the Mediterranean diet may be even healthier than the classic form. Researchers at Universidad de Navarra, working with over 200 collaborators from 22 institutions, have been running since 2013 Europe's largest clinical nutrition program. The study involved 4,746 people aged 55 to 75 years old with overweight or obesity and metabolic syndrome, but without cardiovascular disease or diabetes. One group followed a calorie-reduced Mediterranean diet, about 600 calories per day less than the standard, combined with moderate activity, brisk walking, strength training, balance training, and professional support. The other group ate a classic Mediterranean diet ad libitum with no calorie restriction and no exercise counseling. After 6 years, the risk of developing type 2 diabetes in the reduced calorie active group was 31% lower. Average weight loss was 3.3 kilograms and waist circumference shrank by 3.6 centimeters versus 0.6 kilograms and 0.3 centimeters in the control group. In practical terms, 3 fewer cases of diabetes per 100 people. At the population level, that's thousands fewer cases and real savings for health systems. As Professor Miguel Ángel Martínez González notes, the team aims to deliver equally strong evidence for reducing other health risks. That matters because type 2 diabetes already affects more than 530 million people worldwide, over 65 million in Europe and 38.5 million in the US. And sedentary lifestyles and diet continue to fuel the surge.
Cybersecurity. Two-factor authentication without the clock in the background. At Sandia Laboratories, researchers have developed a 2FA method that doesn't rely on time and doesn't require GPS or complex intermediary infrastructure. Traditional one-time codes are generated from server time or GPS time and often pass through third-party systems and carrier networks, computationally and organizationally expensive, and thus out of reach for many low-power devices with unreliable connectivity. Chris Jenkins' team originally focused on protecting military onboard systems lacking trustworthy time sources, built a lightweight authentication mechanism that operates directly between two parties, needs no persistent clock, and tolerates network delays. This enables drones, distributed sensors, agricultural equipment, and industrial systems, areas that historically skipped an extra factor due to technical constraints, to benefit from 2FA.
Finally, Antarctica and the fastest recorded glacier retreat. Hectoria, relatively small, about 300 square kilometers, roughly the size of Wrocław, retreated 8 kilometers over 2 months in 2023 and within one 2-day window by as much as 2.5 kilometers. A CIRES team at the University of Colorado Boulder, led by Dr. Naomi Okwat, analyzed satellite imagery and seismic data to explain why. Hectoria rests on a broad plain below sea level and has multiple grounding lines, where ice detaches from the bed and begins to float. Seawater, warmer than ice, and wave action create cracks from below. When these connect with crevices from above, intense calving occurs. Seismographs confirm that part of the glacier remains grounded on rock, which favors this unstable mechanism. Similar bed topography has been found under many Antarctic glaciers. So, as Ted Scabos of CIRES warns, if analogous conditions arise elsewhere, we could see a sharp acceleration in sea level rise fueled by Antarctic's ice. That's all for today's roundup. Thank you for listening, and until next time.